Welcome to the Phantom Zone.
Hello, in this week's episodes, first is Asylum. Lex is in the loony bin, and Lionel wants to shock the memories out of his head. Clark has to decide if he should break Lex out. Then, in Whisper, Lex is out and a new man. Maybe. Lana has a new guy, and Clark goes Daredevil. This is the Smallville Chronicles. All right, so thanks for joining us once again. I'm Lou Gonzalez. With me, as always, my Foggy Nelson, Ellen Muir.
Hello.
So I would say, compared to last week, where our first episode was terrible and our second one was awesome, these are both kind of like above average episodes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame what happens to Banshee in the next episode.
Oh, yeah. I was like looking at it, I was like, oh, what's he supposed to be? I'm like, I guess he's just like Banshee, because he's not like... There's no other, like, sound guy that does anything, like, close to what he does. It's just, like I guess it's kind of like, Black Canary, but, like, the way he does it is, like, weird, and the lip moving thing is, like, a whole thing I can get into when we get to that episode, because it creeped me out.
Yeah, it's a very cringy character.
But, this first episode, Asylum, is really interesting. I think Rosenbaum crushes it in this episode, because he has to do, like, a whole lot of stuff. And we also get like awesome kind of callbacks to 3 villains, one from this season and 2 from like season 1 and season 2, right? So we get 1 villain from each season in this episode to come back, which is cool. So Lex is at Belle Rev, although they keep saying Belle Reeve. I will try not to pronounce it that way. And Clark is finally allowed to visit him. And
Lex has been in there and been in the hole for like a month.
Yeah. And then on his way, he sees our 3 guys. So it's Van McNulty, Eric Summers, and Ian Randall. So Ian is the meteor freak hunter. Van is Jonathan Taylor Thomas, and Eric Summers is Iceman.
Nope.
I mixed it up.
You got to ride with Eric Summers.
Okay, Van is the meteor freak hunter.
And Ian is the splicey guy.
Is Iceman's brother or Jonathan Taylor Thomas?
Ian is...
I think it's JTT.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Okay, so he's like weird baby back guy. And then Eric is pseudo-parasite.
Yeah.
And also is he older brother of Jimmy Olsen when he shows up? I'm trying to remember. Isn't his brother in the show too?
No, the whole thing with Jimmy in this show is there's the show's version of Jimmy, which is his name is Henry James Olsen, but he's called Jimmy.
Yeah, but
but he has a younger brother named Jimmy.
Okay, yeah, and he shows up. But he basically plays their version
of Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah. So this one is Iceman, and then his twin brother plays not Jimmy Olsen later on in the show. It's confusing, but we're not there yet. So Clark sees these guys in the hallway. And then,
first sees Van, who just goes crazy. Like, he goes mental. Like, you should be in here, freak. You should be in here, freak. Then he sees Eric, and Eric says that they're a very throwaway line, like, been struck by lightning lately.
Yeah.
And then Ian shows up saying, next time you see my two favorite ex-girlfriends, or tell my 2 favorite ex-girlfriends I said hi. And the guy escorting Clark is like, you must know a lot of people. You must know a lot of people in here.
Yeah. He's like, you're very popular. So then we cut to an awesome shot of Lex getting his meds, and then he's dropping them into slyly. He like coughs into his hand to like get them back out, and then he drops them into his paint. Each one the right color though, which is kind of awesome.
Yeah, and I gotta say, Lex is a pretty good painter.
Oh yeah, it's really good. So then Clark shows up and is like talking to him, and then he's just like, Clark, I know your secret. It's okay. I won't tell anybody. And Clark looks directly at the camera and like kind of turns them. And he's like, you got to break me out of here. And
Clark says he can't do it. And
Lex like freaks the fuck out.
He has a meltdown. It's like, get this son of a bitch, or get you son of a bitch. You did this to me. Oh, yeah. No, that's it. Yeah.
Well, he's basically like, you know that I'm not crazy, that this is just like my dad. Like, you were there. I'm just basically telling him, like, if you just, like, I'll keep your secret, which becomes, like, a theme throughout this whole series, is that he's like, if you would just confide in me, like, I would have kept your secret. But, like, Lex loses his shit, and Clark, leaves. And then Lex, but I do love the way they have Lex look. Like, again, from the end of the last episode, like, he's just, like, pasty and moist looking, and almost jaundicey. Like, he looks very yellow. So the next morning, though, he's getting his I guess he's getting his food brought to him.
Yeah, 9 a.m. breakfast or something.
And
he takes a one of the painting brushes and just stabs it into the guy's knee.
Yeah, and he takes his badge and he starts like running through the place.
Well, no, he's leaving his room, and another guard or orderly sees him and says, "Hey, Lex, I'm just gonna take you back to your room." And Lex, you see, it pans down to you see Lex taking the the stun baton, and he just starts beating the crap out of the guy.
Oh yeah, he has like the extendable baton that he took off of the first guy,
and he goes through the tunnels, and he gets out got it to the exterior. By that point, the alarm has been hit because he's not very good at stealth, and he's climbing the fence, grabs a handful of barbed wire, then gets shot with a taser or a stun gun.
Yeah, they have to pull him down. I actually love, they do like a quick little where he's like climbing up and he sees the barbed wire and then looks back and he's like, fuck it, and just like does it anyway. And he just like plays the pain in his face and then you see his hands are bleeding. Yeah, and they do this scene like really good. It's like very gritty and dirty.
And very, what's the word for when there's, when they take all the color out? Desaturated.
Oh yeah, it's definitely very desaturated. Very Zack Snydery. But it works in like this scene and like the kind of, dystopic Bell Rev, the way it looks is like very dystopic. It's very concrete and gross, which I would not be surprised if this is basically the same place that they've used for the jail for Flash and Arrow, wherever this place is, because it like all looks the same. Just the lighting is different. But from here, we jump to the Kent farm. Clark tells the parents about Lex, and Clark's like, I know that he was drugged, but Martha points out this isn't Lex's first time with mental illness, and Jonathan's kind of worried that if he does break Clark out, like, and Lex knowing the secret, and they kind of try to encourage Clark to visit Lana, but he's like, she kind of told me she doesn't want to be around me, so I'm going to not be around her. And then we cut to what will be the beginning of a very long and dumb story for the season. And at least that's how I feel, which is Lana going through physical therapy, and we are introduced.
Adam Knight.
Yeah. Future star of Vampire Diaries. At least he's age appropriate here ish.
Yeah.
He's not tue far off.
I want to say this was going at the same time as Lost, which he was part of. Oh wait, no, this is before Lost.
Yeah, it's 04. I didn't watch Lost, so like I'm not sure about that. But
Lost started in 04. Our first season was 04 to 05.
So he probably did this season and then jumped right to Lost. But he's also like there's a big chunk of the season that he's not there. So he's in it for like a bunch, then he vanishes, and then he comes back for like one episode. Which his final episode is also really goofy.
Yeah, it's
the lightning storm time travel phone call.
Yeah, the whole thing was they wanted to recreate the love triangle.
Oh yeah.
With that they had in season 1 with Whitney, Lana, and Clark.
Mm-hmm.
But Ian Somerhalder and Kristen Crook didn't have very good chemistry.
No, you can totally not tell when you watch the episodes, which is why they have like 2 or 3 scenes together. Or no, maybe like a scene together in each episode to try to like push that relationship.
And then halfway through it turns sour.
Yeah, and they just get rid of it real quick. So we get that. So he's introduced and he's kind of a dick to Lana. And basically tells her not to feel sorry for herself. Now we pop back to Bell Rev, and Lionel is visiting Lex, who is now in this weird restraint cage over his entire body.
Yeah, that looks very odd.
So it's like kind of mesh around so it's like over the top of his shoulders and around his neck. So he can't really lift his neck up too much. He can kind of just turn his head. And then his arms, he can really only go, like he couldn't pull his arms through it. And then his legs are also locked down. So he has like a little bit of movement, like, but he can't like scratch himself or like lift his arms up. It's a lot, but it looks cool. Like it's like a cool looking like restraint. But Lionel basically shows up and he's like, we know you haven't been taking your medication. Lex tries to convince Lionel he doesn't need them. And then says that like, oh, like the thing I knew about you killing your parents was an illusion. But then kind of gives himself away that Lionel's only interested in it so he can stay out of prison, like keeping him there. And Lex kind of freaks out. And then we get Lionel talking to Dr. Foster and basically like, I'm not happy with the results for an entire month. Like nothing has changed. And he wants to do like something more extreme which is the electroshock therapy thing, and it only works about half the time. And half the time the patients are left brain damaged. And this is basically why this doctor is kind of like under Lionel's thumb, because he knows about this. So we pop back to the torch. Chloe finds Clark at the torch doing some research to kind of prove Lex doesn't belong there. He can't find anything. But this is where they find out that Lex is going to get like this shock treatment in 24 hours. And they learn that the last patient is a vegetable.
Yeah. Did you notice one of the headlines on newspaper when Ian was I think it was either his scene with Lex?
Oh, when he slams the newspaper against the glass? Or like he puts it like above his face, right?
Yeah, Themyscirian Queen addresses the Vatican.
Oh, no, I did not pick that up. That's funny though. Like, that makes no sense. Like, I guess it's like a little like hint at something, but like that never pays off in the show because they never mention Wonder Woman or anything.
Hey, they tried to monetize her. You know what?
Yeah. So basically, Chloe and Clark confront Dr. Foster and accuse her of drugging Lex to make him delusional, and that Lionel is just going like if they do this, Lionel or Lex has a chance of becoming a vegetable, and what do you think Lionel's going to do with you after that, kind of a thing. But she like kind of brushes them off and leaves. This is when we have Ian and Eric approach Van while he's is this when he's bench pressing? And then they basically tell like, oh, we heard you know his weakness. We were going to break out of here. Eric knows how to steal his powers.
Well, the two of them walk up to him, and Ian says, well, isn't it if it isn't Ku Klux Van?
Oh, yeah, that is a good line. Oh, he's not doing the bench press here. He's like, is he like doing pull-ups? He's working out in like both of his scenes. I think he's like doing sit-ups or something. And then we cut to Van paying a guard to get a meteor rock in. And then we get the gross scene of Ian splitting himself in two. And like we get a more like a visceral look. And this is when Van is bench pressing. And
they choke him to death.
Yeah, they push the bench down, like the bar down, and like, yeah, choke him. And so they use that. They offer to break Lex out because they need somebody on the outside to fund them. Lex says no. He hasn't forgiven Ian for trying to kill Lana and Chloe and securing the scholarship. Ian tries to change Lex's mind. Yeah, he shows him that he's on the list for the shock therapy. That's what he holds up, the clipboard.
Yeah.
So it is a good scene. Jonathan Taylor Thomas is doing fine in this.
I just don't like him.
Oh, he's definitely like, well, the character is super unlikable, but he's playing that good. It's not like Van. Like, Van is like not good in this at all. He's probably the worst actor in this episode. And we go, Clark tells Pete that Dr. Foster is going to sign the cancellation papers on Lex, that they were able to convince her. Pete is worried that Clark knows about the secret and basically goes on this kind of rant about like how hard it is and how like difficult of a thing it is.
And basically Lex, he can't trust Lex.
Yeah. And then I think it's
Chloe. Chloe says Claire Foster's, they found Dr. Foster's dead. They found her car wrapped around a tree.
And everyone's like, oh god, it's definitely Lionel.
Yeah. And
this is where Pete suspects that like Clark is gonna break Lex out. And then we got to Clark doing his it's his exactly completely non-stealthy way of breaking in. So yeah,
he rips open the front gate
with no mask, and I think is he wearing the blue and red outfit?
Yeah, I think so.
Something like that. So he has no mask. He's just ripping
open. He's wearing blue and white.
Yeah. Okay, so he has a white t-shirt on. Still, he has no mask. He's not in dark clothes, really. And there's obviously cameras around. He just like does that. He runs in,
takes the harness off Lex,
throws it.
Yeah, he just throws it, and Eric and Ian run in, Ian runs in with a clenched fist, with a meteor rock inside, and just punches Clark right across face.
Yeah,
which apparently is the only thing he could do with the meteor rock.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. What did they do to Lex? Because they like kind of, doesn't he get knocked out too?
Oh, I think.
Yeah, they beat the crap out of both of them, but they grab Clark and they pull him away.
Both Ians. One Ian beats up Clark. The other
beats up Lex. I think he uses the baton, right?
No, he just bare fists.
Okay.
And Lex
gets knocked out, and they're basically like leaving him there to get the procedure. Yeah,
and he's crawling on the ground, and he gets up. I'm not sure if he gets up or the guards find him on the floor.
No, we jump around here. So the Ians bring Clark to like I guess the power station, and then Lexa gets up and goes to like run, and that is when like the orderlies show up. And
yeah, like how the hell did he get free?
Yeah,
and they knock him out.
They bring him to the room and put him on the table.
And Eric.
Yeah, well, we get like the scene where Lex is like freaking out, and then Lionel is there and is like, "This is for your own good." And then we cut back to the other scene, and Clark is on a gurney, and Eric basically like rips. I don't know. He does like something really goofy that's like impossible to get like a.
He uses jumper cables.
Oh, that's right. He uses jumper cables. Clark rips it later on, which makes no sense. He jumper cables himself and Clark and the gurney and gets the powers. And then they see that shuts off the electricity right as Lex is getting electroshock therapy.
Yeah, and Ian's like, "So did it work?" And he picks up Clark and holds him the way Bane was holding Batman before he broke his back, and just tosses him into some equipment that sparks.
Yeah, like heavy, like cast iron steel, which like crumples. But yeah, he like
Clark should be dead or seriously wounded.
He military presses him and like throws him, and he hits it like shoulder and head first. Oh, and they also have this scene where it's like, "Oh, what happened to your other half?" And he's like, "A lot easier like breaking one person out than two."
Yeah, and then there's a dissension.
Yeah, because basically Eric is like, "I don't really need you, Ian," and then he like just wreck Ian like.
I think he does the Luke Cage thing, but backhand. Like
and he goes flying. And basically, I think he straight up dies. Is what it seems to be like. He straight up kills Ian because that's the only thing that kind of makes sense because he's just gone. He backhands him out of the entire series.
He throws Ian across the room, and Clark finds a meteor rock and uses it on Eric, saying that what's wrong, not using your powers, which Eric said to Clark before he ends up stealing Clark's powers.
Yeah. Oh, and
he just spears or gores Eric into like one of the generators.
Yeah, like a junction box or something, which magically makes the power come back on.
And does everything and negates everything Clark has been trying to do and like to try to save Lex. And just by him getting his powers back, he failed to save Lex.
Yeah. So it cuts back and Lex gets the treatment done, and then Clark super speeds, but it's already finished. And Lex is just like, ugh.
Well, no, not just that. Lex or Lionel says, "Do it again." And he just yells at them, "Do it again!" They do it again.
They're like, "We have no idea what the hell just happened or what it could mean." And he's like, "I don't care, do it again." And then this is where we cut back to the Lana Adams story. And basically, like, that she's making progress and and she's able to walk a little bit without the crutches. And then Martha sees them and tries to put in a good word for Clark. And then we see Adam is in the hospital doing like hydration therapy. And Lana comes with like some gifts. Since she's now graduated without crutches and now only has to use a cane. And thus the beginning of that relationship. And then we get the cool part where we get to see Lex back at the mansion, now without all the gross makeup, and he looks back to normal. And he has no memory of what is like the last 5 weeks. I can't remember. It's like a month and a half, so maybe it's like 7 weeks.
7.
Yeah. So Lex doesn't remember Clark's powers. He doesn't remember any of the stuff about the plans.
He doesn't remember Lionel and the conspiracy to kill his grandparents.
Mm-hmm. And so Clark basically leaves and decides not to tell him. And then when he talks to his parents, they're like, "Oh, well, your secret is safe." And Clark's like, "Yeah, but Lionel literally just got away with murder." And Jonathan's like, well, he doesn't want Clark to go anywhere near Lionel. And Clark wishes that he could erase the last few months of his life. And then Martha encourages him to go see Lana. But when Lana sees him, like, she doesn't come to him, and basically
we get this awesome scene with So Far Away by Stain.
Oh yeah. And then the last shot is like, again, like one of those things that's like, oh, this is something that'll come through the whole season, which is Lionel's looking at the tape from the place where Lex goes like, "I know your secret, Clark.
And don't worry, I won't tell anybody." And Lionel's like, "You just found this out now?"
Yeah. And basically just loses his shit and is like, how do we figure out what he said? Because like they turn away from the camera so you can't like hear them.
Yeah, and the thing is, and he's constantly pressing it. I know this is like 2004, but the way they're on like the play and stop button look like it's something out of like the 90s.
Oh yeah, it's like a total like CCTV thing. And not like,
And
although it
Lana,
is funny later on when they pull out like a DVD player, it's so goofy.
yeah, Lionel's like, what took so long? And the guy's like, it took some time to enhance the audio. And the episode basically just ends with the replaying and replaying of the video.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say this is a pretty good episode. I would give this like a solid like B. Like this is like a fun episode. We get fight scenes, we get lots of kind of interesting lore stuff, and we get a bunch of stuff that builds the rest of the season. So this is very much not like a filler episode. This has like huge implications going on further for the rest of the season. As well as like into the series in general.
I don't know if you read the comics around the time this group started, but the Superman Revenge Squad you probably wouldn't have heard.
I've heard the name.
The Maxima, Riot, Anomaly, Barrage, Morgan Edge. Basically, they're people who have an axe to grind with Superman.
And they're all mostly like terrible throwaway characters.
Yeah.
Like of that group, Maxima has like the biggest kind of lore and is really not good, like comic book lore. And she does pop up in the series later on.
After Infinite Crisis, Lex made a new Superman Revenge Squad. This was during the Superman Last Son storyline. It was Metallo, who was armed with several different types of kryptonite, including gold.
Oh.
Parasite, Bizarro, as I said, Lex, and Superman himself actually joined the team because they were fighting Zod.
Oh, I actually remember this. Yeah, that's actually like a much better version of it. But yeah, I remember when that happened. And those are all good characters. Although Parasite is sometimes terrible, depending on who's writing him.
And there's also a Rebirth version.
Oh, maybe that is the version I'm remembering, the Rebirth version.
Blank, Metallo, Cyborg Superman 1, the second Eradicator, Mongol, and Zod.
Yeah, that is the one I remember. Because is it Zod who put them all together, or was it Eradicator?
It was, they were all recruited by Eradicator.
Yeah, okay, I remember that storyline. Because that's when John Kent is around. So, like, Eradicator's trying to get rid of John, because he, like, doesn't compute.
It's post-Superman Reborn.
Yeah, and he sides with Zod, because Zod is, like, a full-blooded Kryptonian. As is, like, what the heck is their dumb kid's name? Zod's kid? It's like...
Are you talking about from New 52, or...
Well, yeah, his kid is still around. I don't remember what Zod's kid's name is. Because he was born in the Phantom Zone. I don't remember. It's like Norzod or something.
I want to say it was... Yeah, that's the thing. I don't remember.
I'm doing some quick Google. That is not the right one. Lorzod.
Ah.
Yeah, and he's like the same age as John. But he's basically like... what do you call it? Damian Wayne, but like Zod. Like, right? Like, so he's like a crazy assassin, but he's a Kryptonian. But he's also a kid, so he is like that original Damian, like, psychoness. All right, but we can jump to our second episode, which is...
Yeah, Whisper.
Yeah, which the most important part of this episode is that this is kind of the origin story for one of Clark's powers, which is super hearing. And it starts off in a very goofy way. So, like, Clark's looking for a gift for his mom for Mother's Day. And
Martha's birthday.
Oh, Martha's birthday, sorry. And Lana's, like, sees him, and he notices her walking out with a cane, and apologizes for not visiting her as she heads off to work. And just as Clark goes in, two people come to go into the store, or they drive up, and they're planning to rob it. And I can't remember the line. They say it's like, you smash, I grab, something like that.
Yeah.
So Nathan the younger guy goes in, and he like does this weird thing where he puts his like index and middle fingers to like his throat, and then like wiggles his lips and makes like a high pitch,
which looked very stupid.
Yeah, it makes like a high pitch like scream thing, but I guess it's supposed to be like a whistle. Like it makes some sort of high pitched thing that like shatters all the glass. Clark is like, what the hell is going on? And it's like everyone's like dropping down, and then. So the other guy is going to go grab stuff. Clark, like, heat visions. Like, I can't remember. He heat visions something, because I think he takes out the guy. Does he heat vision the gun?
Yeah, and...
Yeah, he heat visions the gun, and then like when the guy hits the glass, like some of the jewelry like flies out, and the heat vision hits a piece of kryptonite or a meteor rock, and then reflects.
Well, yeah, it was a piece of meteor rock that was embedded in some of the jewelry.
Yeah,
and yeah, it bounces back into Clark's face and blinds him.
Yeah, so yeah, he shoots 2 blasts. The first one hits the guy's hand, and then the second one hits the jewelry and like goes right into his eyes, and he's like yelling and screaming. And then the younger kid runs away.
Lana comes in, finds Clark, and Clark tells her he can't see.
Yeah, it's a good job because she's like, "Oh my god, like what's wrong? Like what's going on?" And he's like, "Lana, is that you? Like I don't know I don't know what's going on. I can't see." And he's like totally freaking out. And this is actually like I think everybody here does like a pretty good job, besides the lip wiggle. I mean, for Lana and Clark, like they're both. I like how they play this because Lana's like actually for the first time is like genuinely seeing Clark like in distress, which you pretty much never see. And then we cut to the farm, and Martha and Jonathan are trying to figure out what to do. And Jonathan's like, yeah, his retinas are scarred, but they're afraid to take him to another doctor because of what happened last time. And Clark's basically own powers have like done something to hurt him, so like they're not sure what they can do to make it worse. And since Clark has been able to heal, they're not sure if he'll just work on his own. And then he basically is like, they might just be better on his own, and that he can like kind of learn to live with the disability, which is kind of like an interesting take. They're like kind of talking around him, and he just is like basically like, hey, like maybe I have a chance to say something here.
Yeah, they mention. They do mention like adjusting things with this new disability, and it's really Jonathan and Martha butting heads, sort of.
Is this where we get the first part of like the super hearing?
No, we get it when
they go to school, right?
The next day when Pete is helping Clark to get his books.
Yeah, and this is where we get the kind of story that begins the end of Pete on this show, which he talks about his mom has the guy on her court docket, and there's no chance that she's going to let him get off easy because Clark got hurt. And then Lana offers to help Clark with his schoolwork, but he's like, nah, I'm cool. And then when Pete closes his locker, so that's when... That's sort of
the trigger.
And he like completely freaks. I actually love how they do this because they kind of cut to everything that they're doing and all of the sounds, and they do a good job. And then through all of this, Clark hears the conversation. Chloe's on the phone with Lionel, and this is when he learns that like she's working with Lionel, and basically that like Lex is too fragile, and they basically send him to do a job where he is going to sharpen pencils. Is that what they say?
Yeah.
Clark's like, Pete, you gotta take me home like right now.
And I like where the whole sitting at a desk sharpening pencils, how that comes back.
Oh yeah, it's really good. So we go to the loft. Clark is explaining to his parents, and I actually love this. The
way they do the training, like they did in Heat.
Yeah, so we don't get to that yet, but I do really like this. But so as he's about to tell them when he heard for Chloe and Lionel, Lex shows up, and he's like, my dad went blind, like I have all of that stuff. And Clark's like, well, there's like really no way, like I'm just blind, like I have to learn and deal with it. And he just, and I do like this conversation as well, because Lex is like, yeah, like when you have a disability, like people treat you differently.
And he also, and this is after Lex mentions he can put Clark in touch with some of the best ophthalmologists out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then he goes like, "Oh, I'm going to go back to Luthor Corp."
And that's
And Clark's like,
he warns him that his father doesn't think he can like handle things. And then we go back to the house. Martha's filling up her work so Clark can get a special tutor to finish school. And then Jonathan Martha and Jonathan are talking about hiring extra hands, but then Jonathan has his pride, so he refuses.
Yep, which again plays into stuff going further into the series, especially when we get into next season.
Also, the fact that Jonathan he's not accepting that things have changed,
mm-hmm.
and that he's relying on people close to him. He doesn't want to trust people or trust strangers because of everything that's happened.
Yeah, which makes sense. Like, this is where like I like how they play the Kents of like Jonathan being like this super overprotective person, and Martha kind of being the balance of like being like, well, you gotta let him live his life, And Jonathan is basically like this bullheaded, stubborn person, but then like the only person that can really call him on it is Martha, and it just plays so well in the show. But we jump from here to the Talon, and Lex is talking to Lana. Is basically like, "I'm so sorry. Like, that's why I covered your medical bills. Like, it's all my fault. I wish I could have visited you, but I couldn't." And this is where he learns that
she never blamed him.
She never blamed him, and also that Clark has been kind of like out of like that they've kind of separated and stuff. And he also brings up the whole Adam thing, and it's like, "So you've been sending some gift baskets and shit." Like, she's like, "Oh, don't worry, like, I'll pay that all back." Blah blah blah. And then Chloe goes to the farm looking for Pete. He was supposed to help her with a column for her Daily Planet. And then Clark is basically like, "I know that you're in with Lionel, like, what the shit?"
And then Chloe comes clean, tells him everything.
And that she was trying to get out of the deal, but then he, like, threatened her dad. And Clark's like, "I don't care, like, you completely turn it." And then he's just like, is it him or is it Lana later on that, like, brings up that she did this because of, like, the Lana and Clark dating? I feel like it's Lana. I don't even know if it's this episode. But I
think it's a future episode.
Yeah, but basically that's why. So then she leaves. Pete shows up at the farm and sees Clark went on a walk far from the house. And Clark's like, "Yeah, I guess I do know every inch of the farm." And then
then Pete gets kidnapped.
Yep, they get attacked, and like Pete gets kidnapped. And then the sheriff arrives and getting the statement. And they know that like it's the other person from the thing because they contacted Pete's mom and like, the only way you can get him back is if you like drop the charges or like dismiss the case, I think it is.
Yeah.
So Clark is going to try to figure out how to use his things. And then this is where we get the awesome scene of them like training Clark on the powers. And basically they turn on every piece of machinery and Jonathan does like the whisper talk. And I think this is like an amazing like scene to show like the training.
Also a good scene, like the love between, or that like the relationship Clark has with his parents, like the trust, faith, everything.
Mm-hmm. Right. And
we get to the impetus of the title of this episode, where he's focusing on Jonathan's whispering.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say, like, this might actually be one of my favorite scenes of the series, and it's like such like a simple little scene, but like they do such a good job of it. Like, it's similar-ish to what they did in Man of Steel, but I think it's so much better. Like,
oh, you mean the scene when Clark is
with Martha, and she's just like, "Concentrate on my voice." Like, I feel like this works better. Like, I also like the idea of like not all of his powers coming in at once. Like, and him kind of like as he's going through puberty, he's getting more powers and like absorbing more radiation.
Yeah.
So we cut to the mansion, and Lionel's talking to Lex. And this is where Lex is like, "Oh, I heard a rumor that my only responsibility is going to be to sharpen pencils."
And Lionel's like, no.
Well, his face is like,
"Oh, shit."
Like, okay. Like, how did you know that? And yeah, he's like, "Oh, you don't really trust me to do this job." And then they basically like, Lex doesn't want to say that Clark told him. So he just tells his dad that, you know, he didn't trust him to really do a job. And that kind of ends that scene.
Then we get to the scene I found funny.
Oh, the next thing?
Blind Clark jumps onto the back of the pickup truck, or the tow truck.
Yes. He's like Spider-Man's onto it.
He tells Lana to call his parents, and he just awkwardly gets on the back.
Yeah,
and it drives away with him on the back of it. It's
like, okay, you don't know that there's like a 250-pound man like on the back of your tow truck.
I mean, honestly, I got a Back to the Future 1 feeling.
Oh yeah, that definitely, yeah.
I just wish there's a scene where Nathan looked in the rearview mirror and saw Clark, and he just did the Marty McFly like, "Hi,"
like, duh.
Like just totally breaking the fourth wall.
Mm-hmm. So this literally brings him to like the junkyard or whatever, and right where Pete is at, Pete's in the trunk of a car.
That's about to be, and Nathan is going to crush it.
Yeah, so he starts it up, and then this is when I guess like Clark reveals himself. Well,
something that I forgot where. Well, there's some stuff that we didn't get to. Clark finds Pete.
Oh yeah. This is you're right.
He focuses on Pete's
jump to
hearing.
the car. Yeah, to the car crusher. Yeah.
No, not that. I'm talking about before he gets taken there. Like the blowtorch scene?
Yeah. So yeah, when Clark gets off, he like sees that, or he listens for Pete, and he's like, is he tied up to a chair, like in a shed or something, or like in something? And Clark goes to help him, but like Nathan's like right there, and then
he knocks Pete over the head, which CTE alert.
Oh my god, so much, and then blowtorches Clark in the face, and then. Oh, he does it like a couple, he like goes across his face like several times, which that is a horrible way to kill someone, and also very ineffective. Like that's like a hard, like, why even try that except for plot.
Yeah.
And so then that's when Nathan moves him and puts him in the trunk of the car, and then Clark is like kind of rolling on the ground, and then his like vision starts to come clear.
I like the effect that they did.
Oh, where it's like foggy.
Well, no, where it looks like it's, I don't know what the right word would be.
Oh, with his vision coming back, where it's like kind of breaking up, but like looking more clear.
Where everything is like sort of looks like it's vibrations.
Oh yeah, it's like very fuzzy. It's like hard to say, but I like how they keep going back to it. That's like a little different. So Clark goes home. He see like his parents are like, oh, the heat must have like broken up the
scar tissue on his eyes.
Yeah, but they're like, yeah, his heat vision, X-ray vision are still not there. They think it'll heal. Clark continues to look for stuff, but they go and get Clark glasses, which is obviously like a homage,
a nod to what's to come in the future.
Yep.
In the future,
he's gonna go to so they still have the thing with Pete's mom, and then Martha and Jonathan are gonna go with them, and then go with her, and then Clark's gonna go there too, so he can listen on the call, I think, right, and then try to figure out where Pete is based on the call.
Yeah.
All right, and then from here we go to Chloe's at Lionel's office, and she doesn't have any new information.
And then Chloe threatens him by saying she's going to write a story about an eccentric billionaire with excessive interest in the Kansas farm boy.
Yeah, and Lionel's like, you need to be careful, and your column has been canceled. And then, which is a pretty good scene. No,
he canceled it because...
Oh, because of the stuff like, how did I get my exact words parroted back to me? But I do love, this is like a thing that Lionel has for a while, like the weird like over the head, like it's not a Bluetooth, it's like a wired like headset that he uses to talk on his like office phone to show that he's like a fancy businessman.
Yeah,
and they do this for a while.
It's the type of thing that a corporate douchebag would wear.
Yep. So then we get to Nathan putting Pete into the back of a car and he's gonna crush it. And tells him the house piece is gonna be a pile of junk. And Clark overhears this. I'm trying to think, because when Clark goes to the courthouse, he sees Masterson and Nathan talking, and says like, "Don't worry, he's gonna get killed anyway." And then that's when Clark goes and rushes there, and he stops the machine. He like pushes it up, I think, like kind of military presses and like breaks it as it's crushing the car.
Can we talk about what happens before that, where he inadvertently kills Nathan?
Okay, I wasn't sure if that happened first or second, but yeah, Nathan totally gets killed because he tries to disable Clark with his ability. Clark backs into a stack of crushed automobiles, which topples over. Clark is able to super speed out of the way, but Nathan is crushed. Yeah, and he just leaves him. He also just leaves him there. Like
he's a smear of blood.
Yeah.
And Clark hears Pete calling for help and does
like breaks the machine, like pushes it up.
Yeah. And then at the tail end, Pete he's surrounded by girls, and he's telling an embellished version of the story, and they're like, they're eating out of the palm of his hand, so to speak.
Yeah, it's like great, and he's just like basically like, well, they can't tell the real story, so I'll just make it to be there's no witnesses, so because the guy's dead, like I could just make up my own thing.
And then they get the sad thing with Chloe.
Yeah, well, Pete goes and talks with Chloe, and then she's just like that she lost her column,
and Lex fired her father.
Yeah, and then Clark goes to ask Lex about it, and then Lex says that Lionel thinks Chloe's father is the one that's been spreading the bad rumors, and he assumes Chloe overheard her father and told Clark, and Clark obviously can't tell him what really happened. Alex explains he went along with the whole thing to be in a better position to put himself against his father by letting him think that I'm weak.
Also, he's trying to keep Clark out of harm's way.
Yeah, out of being in the middle of the two of them. And then we get of course, in all the things, Lana visits the loft and is like, I met somebody new. And then
she wanted to tell him personally so he wouldn't find out from someone else.
Yeah, which would obviously be Lex. And then as she drives away, Clark superhears her crying. And then that is the end. I do like a lot of things in here. I do like initially the way they show the superhearing with showing like his inner ear, but they like I was saying before we started, they show that same like thing for several seasons, and they just keep showing it. It's like, or we can't trust you to understand that he's superhearing. We have to cut to inside of his ear to show you he is superhearing.
It's also the first time they SG-1 it, which for those of you who don't know, for a good chunk of Stargate SG-1 and Stargate Atlantis, they would show like a very long sequence of a wormhole, like of them going through the wormhole or going through the Stargate, going through the wormhole, and it was just something that could have been like a few seconds long. And I'm just on the Smallville wiki. They mention that it says, but Lex appears to have forgotten his promise to protect Chloe. But then again, he must have forgotten this after the electroshock treatment. And there's actually a mimic of Spider-Man 1. Mm-hmm. Where, with like the glasses scene. But sort of inversed.
Mm-hmm.
Where Peter puts on his glasses and everything's blurry. Clark puts on the glasses, everything's fine.
Yeah. It is like a fun kind of play at like the Clark Kent like disguise glasses thing that we don't get to see till like, I don't know, like season 8, season 7, somewhere around there. But this was a fairly good episode. I again, like I said, like this episode is worth it just for that like training, like kind of scene of like the new ability. But overall it is really good. I like the idea that he's the ultimate eavesdropper. And then the power set actually becomes like super useful later on. I don't think we get another power preview until like way later, maybe like season 5 or season 6 when he has like the super breath.
Yeah,
I think it is. I'm trying to remember. It's got to be in season 6 because it's after like the Black Thursday thing or Dark Thursday, and he's like running around and he catches a cold. So I don't know. I thought these were good episodes. This one's like a little bit less. I'll give this like a B-. And the only person in both episodes that I think is truly terrible, besides the lip quivering, is Adam is particularly bad in this one.
Okay.
I just don't like him in the show. Like it's like a theme with Lana.
I'm looking at the quotes for this episode. It says, Clark says, I may have lost my sight, but things are becoming much clearer now. Exactly how long have you and Lionel Luthor been looking into my life? And Chloe says, since last spring, the day after Lex's wedding. And Clark says, that's when you saw me and Lana together. Is that why you did this? Chloe doesn't answer, and Clark says, your silence is deafening. So it turns out it is this episode. Okay.
Because, like, I think she says it again in, like, another episode to Lana. But yeah, that is an awesome scene because he's blind at that point. And he's just like, I do like that since he's blind, he has, like, a less of a problem about just, like, putting people to task.
Yeah.
Which is great.
You can't see their threatening faces, facial expressions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he has, like, he says, like, for all the times you accuse me of keeping secrets, how could you do this to me? She's just like, he caught me at a really bad time when I caved, and I've been trying to get out ever since, and like I know it was wrong. And it's like, Clark's like, yeah, that's all nice, but you sold me out to fucking Lionel Luthor. Get out of my face. I don't know. It is interesting, but I do think these are 2 good episodes. Chloe kind of gets. I think the other thing is in the next one because that is where the entire episode is about giving Chloe her comeuppance.
Especially with the stuff that's come on now.
Oh, yeah.
And it's written by future showrunners, Kelly Souders and Ryan Peterson.
Yep.
And also is returned to with Summerholt.
Yes, which becomes like a big part of the season. And actually a lot of stuff going on. So the first one is Delete, which has to do with like people trying to kill Chloe and starring Missy Peregrine. Now she looks super familiar to me. I'm trying to look and see what she's done that like I know her from.
Did you ever see Reaper?
Oh yeah, that's the show Kevin Smith wrote on, right?
He was sort of like he was like a consultant and stuff on it. That show where I'm blanking on his name, but guy finds out that his parents made a deal with the devil, and Missy Peregrine plays the love interest.
I know what she's in. She's in a big show right now that I see ads for all the time that I do not watch. FBI, the Dick Wolf show that is on CBS.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah, she's the star of the show. I think it's been on for like 2 seasons. And then our second episode is Hereafter, which is basically a kid who can touch people and see how they're going to die. And it's like a really heavy episode. Like, I don't know how else to like describe it except for it being like just heavy.
There was a really good scene where he sees a hand grabs his shoulder, and you just see the cape and in space.
Oh yes, I love that. And that kid's been in a bunch of stuff too. Like he's in like Big Little Lies, which is a huge show.
Oh, we also get the return of Five for Fighting.
Oh God, yes. So like those are definitely some like fun. They're again like those are not bad episodes, and they are like world building episodes, both of them. So it'll be exciting to check those out next week. Don't forget everybody to check out the other podcast me and Alan do. So every Thursday we have And Now Comics right here on Phantom Zone, and where we talk about comic books and stuff. And then every other Thursday, part of Lost Horror Network, we have Legion of Tunes. And our last episode, we watched Alan's pick, which was Prince of Egypt. And the next one, we are watching Rama Half. That's
Rama
John's.
1/2 is the way John said it.
Yeah, which is John's pick, which is like an older anime. And then you have Lost Horror Games.
Yeah, we just, the latest episode went up on, I'll say Monday or Tuesday. We talked about Life is Strange. We talked about... Oh, no, we didn't talk about Life is Strange. We talked about the Death of the Vita and Master Chief Collection with Reach coming to the PC. So...
Yep.
Oh, and by the time this comes out, the next episode of either LHG Plays or My Life is Strange playthrough will be up.
Mm-hmm. All right, that's awesome. So we will catch you guys on the next episode. I'm Lou Gonzalez.
I'm Alan Muir.
And this podcast stands for truth, justice, and the American way.